Hello. What's up? You guys hear me okay? Hello. I'm just finishing my toast. I realized I didn't eat yet this morning. And I was like, man, I don't feel so great. Why am I not feeling so great? That's because I hadn't eaten yet. This morning, it is currently 3:30 p.m. So I've been up for a while without eating. So please excuse me while I consume this piece of peanut butter. I have some stuff to show you. I've been debating on waiting until Monday because Monday seems to be like now our chill day. So I think I'm going to wait till Monday, but just be aware that I have some things to show you on Monday. I moved some stuff in the room around. Somebody sent me a thing and that thing has arrived. I have another thing that I picked up that's very, very funny. So, I got some videos that I saved they're from last month, and they are, let's see, they were put out, like, May 10th is this one. This one is 2 months ago for March 19th. And this one is a month ago, May 6th. So these are just past, but they seem to be Canadians. I don't know if all of them are Canadians. We're gonna find out, but they're like MAGA people who are pissed at Canada. And I thought we could have a little bit of fun doing that stuff. Thank you. I've had this hat for years. It's got a little pom-pom on it. I love it. But, it is too warm for me to be wearing, but I'm gonna wear it anyway, because it's on fucking brand. So, let's take a look at these. So, the first one we're gonna look at is from May 25th. We're gonna leave this one for last because it's 25 minutes long, but 9,000 subscribers. Trump humiliates Canada's PM in front of the entire world. In shocking move, Mark Carney paid a visit to Trump. Let me get rid of my watch later list. Sparking outrage amongst Canadians who believe it's a sellout. I didn't see that. Maybe where they were, I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knew that Carney was eventually going to have to go to the White House, so I don't know what the outrage is or where that outrage is coming from, but I didn't see any outrage. The former governor of the Bank of Canada, known for his economic leadership, faced criticism to his reaction to Trump's tariffs. The meeting has raised questions about Canada-US relations and implications for the global economy. Sure. Pierre Poilievre has been abuzz with controversy surrounding Carney's visit. Oh, so the Canadians that are mad is just Pierre Poilievre being a dick? Okay. With many calling it a sellout debate. Debate? As Canada's top political news unfolds, one thing is clear: the stakes are high for financial leadership and the future of the country's economy. What do you think about Mark Carney's meeting with Trump? Share your thoughts in the comments below. It got 2 comments, but whatever, I'm not worried about that. I ain't here to judge, I'm not here to pick on numbers, I'm here to listen to what you have to say. So let's take a look. Are you guys ready? Let's go!
Expectation for your meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister tomorrow?
I don't know, he's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does. They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
As of right now, there are no official deals. It is now June 12th. They are long past the 90 deals in 90 days. It's been over 100 days. There's no deal. Not a single one. There is talks of deals with China, and that they had negotiations and have made some potential agreements. Nothing official, nothing signed, nothing with Canada, nothing with the UK, nothing with Thailand, nothing with China. Nothing official has happened. So, that isn't going well.
to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada. And we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars.
Side note, just really quick, Trump raised the tariffs on Canada and Mexico to 50% from 25% on steel and aluminum, and I believe like one or two other things. But just so you know where we're at right now, Pete Hoekstra was like, hey, yeah, no, this is gonna go away, don't worry about it. And then he fucking raised the goddamn cars or cards? You don't have the cards.
And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things.
This was in fact a lie.
Because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of, past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada is not subsidized by America.
That's just not a true thing. That's ridiculous. And the one thing that America did have in a surplus with everybody, they've absolutely destroyed, which was their tourist industry. Everybody liked visiting America. Now nobody's visiting America.
A place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so...
What do you mean? He won every single time he ran. Didn't help his election. What election? What are you talking about? Does Trump... Wait, what? He did... What? God, they're so fucking dumb.
Why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking your... We want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said,
I don't believe that that's what he said. He might have said that would be the end of our relationship. He might have said that would have destroyed or caused irreparable damage to Canadians' economy and the automotive industry, which is happening. So I don't believe that that's what he said. I want a citation needed. That one real quick. Not that I trust old man Wrinkles over here's memory either. We don't want their steel. Market says otherwise. Yeah, that did not age well, needless to say. Oh, I didn't put on the goal. I will put on the goal. I apologize. All the colors. The spice. There we go. All right, off we go.
That's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. I won't say this about Mark, but I didn't like his predecessor. I didn't like a person that worked for. She was terrible, actually. She was a terrible person.
I didn't like I didn't like Trudeau. Yeah, so what? Good.
And she really hurt that deal very badly because
he's talking about
she
Kristen
tried to
Freeland.
take advantage of the deal, and she didn't get away with it. You know what I'm talking about. But so we had a bad relationship having to do with the fact that we disagreed with the way they viewed the deal, and we ended it. We ended that relationship pretty much. The USMCA is great for all countries. It's good for all countries. We do have a negotiation coming up over the next year or so.
We ended the deal. We kept the deal. We didn't like the deal that we signed on to, and so we unilaterally canceled it, but it's good for everybody. This so much rambling nonsense.
To adjust it or terminate it.
Mr. President, I'll say a word on USMCA if I may, Mr. President. It is a basis for a broader negotiation. Some things about it are going to have to change. And part of the way you've conducted these tariffs has taken advantage of existing aspects of USMCA. So it's going to have to change. There's other elements that are come, and that's part of what we're going to discuss.
There are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it, you know, it's.
Carney, like, what? I don't. CTV News 2 days ago, quote, "It's been good for us. Canada's steel supplier says the tariffs have increased their business." Actually? Stream of unconsciousness ramble. Yeah, no, that's what it is. It's this is insane, man. I don't like I covered this and watched this entire thing, but man, it's so bizarre. Even like looking back, like even contextually it was weird, but just looking at just clips makes it sound worse. Like it's worse. It's just blah. What do you mean?
It would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may.
We don't like you.
As you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the President just said, is with respect to our own security.
We're going to be friends with Canada. Regardless of anything, we're going to be friends with Canada. Canada is a very special place to me. I know so many people that live in Canada.
But I thought you didn't need us and you didn't want us and you'd have blah, 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 blah. He's negging! Donald Trump is trying to neg Canada, and that's absolutely fucking ridiculous. So where's the part where you explain how Trump is humiliating Mark Carney? What's the point? Get to the point. I already covered most of this. I'm gonna speed this up and see if this guy gets to a fucking point. Good God. Playback speed. Go faster, you lemon!
My parents had relatives that lived in Canada, my mother in particular. I love Canada. I have a lot of respect for the Canadians. Wayne Gretzky, I mean, how good, the great one. Canada is a very special place.
Canada is already going to become the 50-50.
Okay, so I guess this is this guy now talking. Okay. Wrong button. Alright, back to normal speed. Alright, tell Elmo, Canada is going to become part of the United States. Please explain to me.
One, Canada is a very special place.
Canada is already going to become the 51st state because of Mark Carney. Here's the truth, though. The USA already owns Canada, if you really think about it. What military do we have to defend ourselves? Not to mention...
So... This is a funny thing that people get wrong about Canada's military, and I'm guilty of this as well. We like to goof on our military a lot because we don't take it very seriously. However, our military is incredibly effective. Just ask Russia. Just ask Germany. Just ask anybody. Ask the American soldiers during Afghanistan and the Iraq War about the effectiveness of Canada's participation in the Canadians' military. Now, admittedly, we have not in the last handful of years spent a whole ton of money on our military, right? Which means that our gear's a little bit outdated maybe, that we don't have as many facilities and there's not a high enough pay grade. Having the biggest military also does not inherently mean you're going to win. Again, just ask Russia. Russia spends more and has had a larger military than Ukraine, and they have been failing on every front. Having a larger military does not mean you win a war. That is not how it works. And America is notoriously bad at fighting, like, guerrilla-styled warfare. They're notoriously bad at it. They were bad at it in Vietnam. They were bad at it in Afghanistan. They were bad at it in Iraq. Like, they're just not very good at this. And the thing is that if you're talking about military capability, in like a 1-to-1, yeah, of course, the American military is disgustingly large and absurd. But if you're going to talk about would the American military be able to successfully occupy and take over Canada? No. No. And nobody with any like experience or knowledge around military believes that they would be able to. Not only is the American military notoriously bad at guerrilla warfare, but they are also notoriously unprepared for things like militia resistance. Russia has the second strongest military in Ukraine. Yeah, exactly. It's the same kind of thing. It also really doesn't help that Donald Trump has been systematically, like, destroying all of the things about the American military and the American people that make America so scary. No. It also, side note, this is also disregarding, or at least is unaware of. Now, I don't know why you would be unaware of this, but because Mark Carney talked about it on the campaign trail, but Canada has been ramping up its military for the last 3-ish years, and Mark Carney's speeding that up. So Mark Carney is speeding that up to our 2% GDP NATO stuff is happening, but also you've got another, he's intending on doing it up another to 5%, right? So that would be just increasing our thing. And I agree with that. I think that our military spending does need to increase due to just, the nature of global economics and global powers right now. However, there's another factor that this dude is completely ignoring. Canada is not alone, and America is. Morale is something that people very, very, very much just ignore. Canada knows and understands generally more about America than Americans tend to know about America, and definitely more than Americans tend to know about Canada. So we have an information advantage. On top of that, it's not a war that the majority of the American people want to fight. There is already too much infighting in America to be in a stabilized place for America to be even making attempts at putting boots on the ground in Canada, let alone other factors like steel, aluminum, economic damage, banking. Canada actually controls a lot of America's banks. And energy. Because, like, if you go to war with us and suddenly you have no power along your entire fucking northern border, you're gonna have a little bit of a harder time. You know what I mean? Let alone if it drags out into wintertime, which, again, Americans are notoriously bad at dealing with. Right? So there's way too many factors here that make it feasible for America to attack Canada in any kind of military sense on its own soil, at the very least. Maybe somewhere else. Maybe Canada and America will end up going to war with each other on land that is not Canada nor America. But again, you're still not dealing with Canada alone. You're dealing with Canada, France, the UK, potentially India, China for sure. And who's going to help America? Oh, Australia, New Zealand, potentially Taiwan. Like, it's ridiculous to think otherwise. Like, what he's saying is just absurd. Like, it's just fractally absurd, but also like flies in its face to be like, oh, Canada is going to become the 51st state anyway because of Mark Carney, because of all of the GDP he's adding the spending to our military. Mark Carney didn't set up the military budget from before he was in office, so that doesn't make any sense. You could say that it was like, oh, Canada's gonna get taken over because Canada has not spent enough on its GDP for a long period of time, but you have to get past the blinders of saying whether or not it's the liberals or it's the conservatives, because both have been in power since we've lessened our military spending, particularly Stephen Harper, right? Trudeau increased our military spending, so that's the liberals increasing our military spending, not the conservatives. So it's a little bit silly to say otherwise, and as much as it's like a joke, a meme for Canadians to like kind of harp on our own military for not being that great. Our military is actually incredibly good. The only reason our military looks a little bit silly is because it's beside America's military, and America's military is a bloated monstrosity of nonsense. Right? It's over bloated, it's over budget. Their people are starving to continue to make guns and ammunition. Like it's a little bit ridiculous. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't an attack on Canada trigger a NATO defense pact? Historically, that's not a good idea to get into that. Yeah, yes, I believe it would. So it would be a NATO ally attacking another NATO ally, which would almost instantaneously get America kicked out of NATO. And then they would get the Russian treatment. So not only would America deal with the turmoil going on in America, but then they would get extra sanctions and extra nobody's buying or selling your shit. And the thing is the rest of the world is also super duper not happy with what America is doing right now, so that response would likely be even harder and faster than it was with Russia, like you're seeing with this military ramp up that is going on in the EU right now. And here's the other thing. Even if this was something that Trump wanted to do, if and when he is able to stabilize his power as a dictator oligarch, right? Even if he was able to stabilize his power. I'm not convinced he's going to be able to do that, but hypothetically, if he does, and he stabilizes America and his position well enough that he is then able to attempt to go to war with Canada, you're looking at like 3 to 5 years from now. And if we increase our spending and we increase our manufacturing upwards to 5% or higher by next year, you're talking about 4 years of Canada prep time. And 4 years, that might not seem like very long, but given how notoriously fast Canadians move to build up to this kind of stuff, you're not going to be dealing with the same military in 5 years in Canada that you are right this very second. So it's very, very silly. It's very, very absurd. Canada's not going to be the 51st state. No matter how much even if America occupied Canada or portions of Canada, Canada is not going to become the 51st state because we're going to resist them at every turn. And it would be stupid and foolish to think that the Canadian military would 1-to-1 fight the American military. That is just not how you do that type of warfare. So the only people who think this are people who don't know what they're talking about and who have bought into America's military propaganda.
We owe the U.S. $370 billion, so that's a pretty huge deficit. Trump spent...
I'm gonna fact check that. How much money does Canada owe America? I don't know if that's accurate. Here we go. What? Okay, well, this doesn't tell me anything. It's complicated, is the answer. Like, don't get me wrong, our debt isn't in a great place, but it's also not like... Which countries owe the most US debt? As of April 2024, foreign countries owe approximately $7.9 trillion in treasury securities at 22.9% of the US total debt. Domestic debt, foreign debt. Ooh, that's a rough looking graph. Oh boy. That's a lot of domestic debt. Over the past 20 years, Japan and China have owned more US treasury than any other foreign nation. China ownership grew from 105.6 billion to 749 billion. Five countries that hold about 3.3 trillion in US treasury. Canada's down here. As of April, these are all, okay, hold on. Let me go back up here. Let me look at this again. Okay, so pink is foreign owned, domestic. Wait, Could you give me a legend, please? What are these numbers? So I guess this is foreign, or this is domestic. This is, I don't know what the pink one or the blue one is. As of April 2024, 5 countries owing the most U.S. debt are Japan at 1.1 trillion, China at 749 billion, the United Kingdom's at 690.2 billion, Luxembourg at 373.5 billion, and Canada at 328.7 billion. Okay, so there you go. There's your answer. As of, according to this, and I'll give you the statistic. I'll give you the link here. Canada's the 5th largest holder of U.S. debt. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could be wrong. Majority of foreign countries own more U.S. debt today than they did in 2011. Own more. That means America owes them and not the other way around. Jack for 5 said, sorry, but this is true. The British SAS, to quote, America, they have all the toys, but no damn clue. SAS is Special Air Service. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does feel that way. So, anyway, it looks like everything you just said was wrong. So if you have sir, if you have a citation for your $1 billion in debt from Canada to America, I'd love to know where you got that from. So we don't owe it, we own it. Like, his number is, like, pretty close, right? Right? 328.7 billion, and he said 370 billion, but he thinks we owe that, but we actually own it. He's got it. It's adorable. You have it backwards. Listen, they're trying, all right? They're trying.
$70 billion. So that's a pretty huge deficit. Trump's been pushing this idea that Canada should become the 51st state because he knows eventually Canada is going to become part of the USA. It's probably...
Why? Based on what? How is that true? Like, I appreciate that you think this and believe this, but how? Yeah, he's confusing deficit with debt? Yeah, probably. You're actually probably right. Hi, Letty, I see you.
We're gonna go with Alberta first and maybe Saskatchewan, but yeah, it's happening, people. Watch what happens in the next 2 to 3 years. Just watch. And all the people that voted for Mark Carney, well, guess what? Mark Carney is going to destroy the economy. It's pretty much becoming a communist country. Look at the crime rates. Look at the cost of living. It's just...
All right. Slow down. You want us to look at the crime rate, the Canada's GDP, Canada's economy. 2025. Spring. Here we go. Recent developments in Canadian economy spring 2025. This article provides an integrated summary of recent economic developments, highlighting key moments in the economic data during the late 2024 and early 2005. This article focuses on how economic conditions have changed as households and businesses began adjusting to ongoing uncertainty over Canada's trade relationship with the United States. Stronger economic momentum before the trade conflict. Much of the headline economic data from late 2024 and early 2025 pointed to the modest improvements in economic conditions before the escalation of the trade conflict with the United States. The economy was expanding at a steady pace during the second half of 2024, while the composition of growth in the fourth quarter had become more balanced with household spending, exports, and business investments, all making sizable contributions to increase in real GDP, Chart 1. Final domestic demand and measure of total consumption of and investment activity rose at its fastest pace over 3 years in late of 2024 at 1.4%, as outlays increased across many expenditure and asset categories. At the time, real GDP per capita increased by 0.2%, while business labor productivity posted its largest increase at 0.6% in 4 quarters. Economic-wide outposts rose in five of the last 6 months of 2024, then strengthened in January of 2025. Measured over year-over-year, economy-wide output was up 2.3% in January 2025, the fastest in pace in nearly 2 years. Ta-da! Let's pull up where Canada sits. Oh, I shouldn't have closed that. Hold on, let me grab you so you can read the whole article yourself. I'm not gonna go through the whole article because that would take me forever. So let's take a look at, specifically, let me move this article back over. Let me go specifically to Canada's GDP in the G7. Because it's reasonable to compare ourselves to, you know, other people in the G7 that are coming next week. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Canada's GDP's second highest projected real GDP growth in 2023 and 2024. According to International Monetary Fund, IMF, Canada's trails only the United States in 2003 and Spain in 2024 with respect to projected real GDP, gross domestic product growth over the next 2 years. Uh-oh. Huh. And as of April 2023, as of July 17th, Canada is set to be the fastest growing economy in the G7 in 2025. Upgrading its forecast for the Canadian economy, projecting it will now grow 1.3% this year and 2.4% in 2025. Both readings forecasts were increased by 0.1 of a percentage point. We want to see, that's not going to be helpful to me. Here you go. Here you go! Go figure. Look, there's even a Reddit post about it. Boing! Canada's right here. The real GDP per Canada's lost decade. Lost. Wonderful. Anyway, what was the other thing you wanted to look at us to look at? Crime. All right, Canada's crime rate. You remember we looked at this before. Let me see if I can find the actual. Let me see if I can re-find the actual graph. Let's see. Where are you, graph? Where are you? Here it is. Ta-da! Police reported crime rates from 1962 to 2003. This is violent crime. Let's see if I can get 2025. So this includes like the spike from COVID and stuff, when stuff was kind of going crazy. Can I get 2025? Because sometimes that data is not available yet. Yeah, unfortunately the data is not quite available yet. That usually takes a little bit before they get it. So looks like that's a lie. So even if the crime rate has gone up, even if it has spiked, they have no way of knowing that because the data is not available. So they're just basing that off of vibes, I guess. Does Canada have an FBI? We have the RCMP, the Royal Mounted Canadian Police. Or Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. They kind of act like our FBI. The Mounties! You found a video? Yeah, I ended up being late today. Alright, Oh, and cost of living. Didn't I cover the cost of living not too long ago? So we do know that the housing crisis is in fact a crisis, right? Like, I think we are all aware of that. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that there isn't a problem, right? However, there have already been projects by the Liberals proposed to deal with that. So here's a chart, and I will provide this link as well. Here you go. Oh, the stupidity of GDP per capita. Yeah, no, Feline, you're absolutely right. Using per capita GDP as like your only measurement or like the base measurement for your whether or not your economy is doing well is stupid. And we've talked about that before, but I'm not going to go into too much of a detail. But the housing crisis is like a global crisis, not just a Canadian crisis. And there are proposals to deal with that. And part of the reason is because of the Harper government and not doing anything about dealing with the housing market. But the estimated monthly cost for a family of 4 are $5,230.06 Canadian, excluding rent. The estimated monthly cost of a single person is about $1,457, also excluding rent. The cost of living in Canada on average is 55% lower than the United States. Rent in Canada on average is 22.6% lower than the United States. Don't get me wrong. Again, don't get me wrong. This is an issue, right? There are issues. There are things that need to be fixed. There are adjustments that need to be made, and these things need to be done. But to pretend that we're going to become a 51st state because those things are going to get better if we go to America, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, that's absurd. Like, absolutely, it's just not true. So to say that, like, because it implies that America isn't having a housing crisis. Because what? The cost of living in Canada is high, therefore America's going to take us over? Like, what kind of a non sequitur is that? To explain how any of these things. But there you go. As requested, we looked at those things, and they don't really seem to be what you're presenting them as, but go on.
Just crazy. And you can save this video, so in 2 to 3 years, watch what happens.
So Prime Minister Carney is meeting...
Okay, well, noted. I guess we'll see in 3 years.
...with Trump today, and that'll be a meeting of one mind and one ego. I just want to remind you, Mr. Prime Minister, that you can't play chess with someone who's trying to eat the pieces, so please dumb it down for him, okay? Good luck.
That does not seem to be, what do they call this, outrage, that Canadians were outraged that Mark Carney was going to talk to, was going to talk to Trump, like...
I got some advice for Mark Carney, so if you can, go ahead and share it with him. He has a scheduled meeting in the Oval Office with Donald Trump on Tuesday. This is after he campaigned and said on a daily basis, our relationship with the United States is officially over. And he consistently said, elbows up, Canada, elbows up. For the people that don't know what elbows up means, it's in hockey. When you put your elbows up, when someone's trying to hit you, yeah, it doesn't go well. So I have a plan for you, Mark Carney, so that you don't look like a complete fool when you go to the Oval Office. Cowbell Brewery just made elbows up beer. It's only 4%, so it's equivalent.
I do like Cowbell. I like this. This is very funny.
To the U.S. beer. There's nothing special about it, but it does say elbows up on it. So when Donald Trump says, what's with all these elbows up comments you're making, Mark Carney? And he goes, oh, we just launched the elbows up beer in Canada. Here's a couple flats, and he should probably bring a couple flats for Donald Trump and say, elbows up, buddy. Because if he goes to tell him that our relationship is over and elbows up without a case of beer like this, our country is officially finished.
That was pretty funny. I like that. And ultimately an ad, but also funny.
All starts here. The Prime Minister of Canada says that I'm coming to Washington by Tuesday. Now he's there. The Canadian people, they are feeling that this man is going to sell our country because the popularity of many of the Prime Minister in Canada is not that well, even though he won the election. And many people feel like
Mark Carney's popularity has been growing, actually. Hold on. Let me grab that for you real quick. Let me grab the polls. Polls. Canada. Polling Canada. Let me grab the polls. Let's see. Canada would be better off as an American state. 73% disagree. I would vote in favor of Canada becoming an American state. 75% disagree. I would vote in favor of my province becoming an American state. Alberta, 22%. Ontario, 20%. BC, 19%. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, 19%. Quebec, 18%. Atlantic Canada, 14%. Like, guys, you're not popular here. You're not popular. Trust the Prime Minister to make the best decision on issues of national unity. 67% agree. 67%. Net satisfaction. That's not what I'm looking for. That's Toronto specifically. Sorry, I'm looking for specifically. Canada's support of Ukraine has been about right, too much, not enough, no opinion. Fucking 48%. Nice. I like how low that number is. Very good. Do you agree or disagree that Israel is committing a genocide in the Gaza Strip? Agree, disagree, unsure. Where is... net approval of Donald Trump, -74. We hate him. Net approval rating, here we go. Job approval rating for Mark Carney. Whether or not Mark Carney is popular, right? That was what he was actually looking for. So let's answer that, shall we? According to Canadian polls, plus 36%, -34. Well... Fucking uh-oh. I would like to point out that also, if you look real quick here as well, right after the election, it was 47 and 41, Carney versus Poilievre, and now, as of 2 days ago, it's 51% Carney and only 26 Poilievre. So, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but not only was Mark Carney popular, his popularity has been growing in Canada. So, incorrect. That is clearly not what Canadians think. Did PP win his by-election and get a seat? It hasn't been called yet. They haven't called it yet still. The Conservatives have not called for a by-election yet. I don't know what they're trying to do, but it seems like they're trying to stall Poilievre.
This person was installed, actually, to that position. But
Incorrect. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know who you are or where you're getting your information from, but Carney was not installed. He was voted to be the leader of the Liberal Party, and the Liberal Party was voted to lead the country. And then we had an election, and then he was voted in himself again. This man was voted in 3 different ways. He was not installed.
He represents his country very well. I think he started by saying Canada is not for sale, and he's very firm about it.
That I agree with.
You can see his reaction, his face, when talking about, Canada is not for sale. But now there are things that Trump's actually hits him actually with. Who is saying, "Oh, I didn't like your predecessor. She has."
That doesn't hurt Carney. Like, it doesn't hurt Carney that Trump doesn't like Trudeau. Like, good.
A particular lady who was very tough on this and this, who I think I didn't like anything about her. Yeah. And I think there was a recent video.
Okay, so like that actually does, that is a little bit of a personal attack on Carney. I don't know if Trump knew it was a personal attack, because I don't assume Trump knows anything. Christian Freeland, who they were talking about, or what Trump was referring to, is like Mark Carney's like the godfather for her kids or something like that.
Video of actually him telling the Canadians about he's going to defense those vehicles that are made past before 2000, the year 2000. Now, of which people they claim it was an AI, now he's there in America, and the people feel like he was going to sell their country.
What? Are you talking about when Mark Carney said to another company that was debating on whether or not they wanted to invest in America, and he said, "Go for it"? Is that what you're talking about? That's not what? The investment firm?
And out of this negotiation, you can see that I think Canada is not coming out victorious in all this discussion. You can see, okay, Trump's accept the fact that maybe Canada will not be the 51 states, but it's talking about we don't need cars from from Canada, because we want to manufacture our own cars here. We don't need steel from Canada, because I think we are building our own steel company here. I think next we'll say that maybe they don't need electricity from Canada or tourists from Canada, because they have their own tourists. So
I mean, yeah, he could say those things. I could see Donald Trump saying those things. It doesn't really mean much, so I'm not sure what you're getting at.
Is a marriage negotiation between Donald Trump and the Canadian Prime Minister. I think he's just favoring USA. And this guy was...
How is the Canadian Prime Minister favoring the United States? I don't what? If anything, I would say that Mark Carney is biased towards Europe, because he has a lot of connections in Europe. Like, a lot of connections in Europe. So if I wanted to criticize him for potential bias problems, I wouldn't pick America. I would pick the UK.
There to be embarrassed, Trump to show that he's more superior. For Trump to show that I think you guys can't do without us. Yeah, when USA hit Canada with tariffs, people claims even that the Canada is not even a country. It was sold already many years ago, because They don't have that military that can protect
What people? And yes, we do.
their own country. U.S. presence, U.S. military is highly present in Canada.
No. That's just not true. Just. Oh no. Okay. Let's see how many troops are actually in Canada right now. Let's take a look. Because, like, it's... Whatever it is, I don't think it is what you... Canada's not a real country, guys. Or fake news. U.S. military has more than 165,000 troops deployed over 170 countries and territories worldwide, including Canada. Yes. American military operates hundreds of overseas facilities and bases in places like South Korea, Germany, and Greenland. That's been changing, but yes, he's been pulling people out and taking, like, ignoring and removing. There are no American bases in Canada today. None! These motherfuckers have bases everywhere, and not in Canada. Guys! There is no American base in Canada! 156 active duty members of the U.S. military are deployed in the country, according to the latest data from the Pentagon. 156 active duty members in Canada. That is not a lot. That is not what I would call a military presence. 50 of them, nearly 50 of them, are members of the U.S. Air Force who serve alongside Canadians at bases in North Bay, Ontario, and Winnipeg as part of NORAD. This is not what I would call a military presence. It's okay, we're not a fucking real country, don't worry about it.
They are just there. They have many camps around Canada.
No! No, they don't! they have zero! They have none! Where are you getting this information from? Citation needed. No!
When Trump is saying that, you'd enjoy a free tariffs, our free military presence, military protection. So what are you guys trying to protect? Are you trying to protect Canada or protecting your own interest in Canada?
That's true. There you go. There you go. Are you protecting Canada or are you protecting your own interest in Canada and our plethora of resources that you definitely don't want? There you go. There's something I can agree with.
You know? So all Canadians, please write down in the comment, what do you think about this Trump, your Prime Minister visiting the Oval Office? Mm-hmm. You know how Trump was boasting, he wants to talk. He said he will come. Let him come. I don't know what he's going to talk about, but let him come. So he's come. And
it's funny that this video claims that people are pissed about what Mark Carney said, but all of these videos are from before the fucking interaction took place. All of these are like talking about that Mark Carney is going to go talk to, not it like after the fact.
Trump has once again proven that Canada is just nothing. Trump has actually cemented his dominance, his presence and his ambition
Yeah.
of buying Canada. But anyway, if in Canada, tell us what you think about Mark Carney, and please tell us what you think about his visit to the State House. Please write down in the comment section. Will be discussed, and also don't forget to give the video a like. Thank you.
You know, Trudeau virtue signaled to
All right, well,
What's your
so this video just doesn't claim what it says it claims. It doesn't make any point. It doesn't actually say anything. This is this is just bullshit. So
What's up guys, how
So
you
I-
doing? So today I've also met a good friend of mine.
So I think the guy at the end, the last guy, was the guy. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But neat. That's it. That was all. I don't know. We'll do more Maple MAGA stuff next time. I don't know where this guy is getting his information from, but his sources be bad, yo. They need some citations, and there didn't seem to be any in the description, and the description seemed a little bit misleading, and so did the title. They never explained that Trump humiliates Canadians' prime minister in front of the entire world. So, like, what? Maybe I'll send him my video. Maybe I'll send him this live stream, and he can take a watch, and maybe he'll come on and chat with me, and that'll be a good old time. Anyway, don't snuff down the Canadian military. We're a bad group to underestimate. But I would like to point out that, again, besides the fact that Canada's military is top tier, again, maybe it looks silly beside the overbloated nonsense that America does, but the fact that we're ramping up and will have definitively ramped up by the time Donald Trump is able to solidify his power, if he's even able to do that, which doesn't seem to be going very well for him, which is good. The American people should kick that man to the curb. This is not a conflict that people want. I assure you. This is not Canadian military ain't nothing to fuck with. Yeah, you don't do it. Don't do it. Please. Trump, Canada sucks, rest of the world, and question mark? Yeah, really. That's kind of what it is. Trump bloviates, he's gonna say whatever he's gonna say, and there's no point in getting riled up about it every time he says something. There is a point in ramping up our military, diversifying and being clear and concise and expedient about taking care of ourselves, because we can't take care of ourselves. We can't help anybody else if we can't take care of ourselves. So weathering the housing crisis and getting through that and fixing that, and weathering the heckling coming from the Conservatives in the House, which has been equally as annoying. And I'm really disappointed that the Conservatives haven't shifted gears to be a little bit more, reasonable. But we'll see. Seeing Mark Carney's popularity go upwards through all of this has been very interesting. I didn't expect that to happen. I figured he'd have like a honeymoon time and then it would start going down. But seeing it continue to go upward, I don't know how long that honeymoon period is supposed to last, but people I've also talked to in real life also seem to be very on board with what he's doing, including people that are more conservative. But we'll see. I'm staying tentatively optimistic. I think that, in my humble opinion, I think Carney is personally more left than a liberal. I think that he's presenting his ideas as more consumable for people on the right, like classic conservatives. So I think his ideas are still going to be more liberal left-leaning, but not as left as he personally is. But I think he's presenting his ideas in a way that make them consumable and and reasonable to conservatives, and that's going to undermine the conservatives' base. So hopefully I hope he doesn't move right. I hope he reaches right and pulls the more right like the more extreme right, like the conservatives who don't want to be extremists, I hope he pulls them closer to center. That's what I'm hoping for, but I'm tentatively optimistic. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been fun. We'll be back next Thursday with our next video about Maple MAGAs and their absolute nonsense. And thanks for coming, and I will see you next time. Have a good day, everybody. Sorry for being late. And it's Star Trek tomorrow, and see me every other Tuesday over on Dapper's channel, where we're having a guffaw and having some drinks. I will see you later. Have a good day. And remember, one ear up. Bye.
Scared, Daddy?